We'll start kind of the same way. If you can tell me your name, I can put it in.
Okay. Jonathan Cooper.
And Alan talking about movies. They may be best friends, but they always disagree.
Jonathan Cooper.
And Alan, I seen that.
And then can you tell me about your guys' podcast?
Yeah, it's an advice show. We get questions in, we answer them in a super bad way for fun giggles. We give bad advice, not to be taken, but for people to laugh at.
Yeah, and it's called
That One Friend. It's all spelled out.
Cool. And you guys are on like iTunes and Stitcher and all that fun stuff, yeah?
Oh, we're not on Stitcher, I don't think, but we're on iTunes, we're on SoundCloud.
Okay.
You can Google us, and I think that someone keeps downloading our episodes from SoundCloud, like ripping them from SoundCloud and then uploading them to a whole nother website.
Nice. You guys are getting pirated already.
I mean, only like 26 episodes in, and I sent a message to the guy because he left his Twitter handle on there, and I was like, "Hey, good job." Like, I was like, I want to let you know I'm cool with you doing this.
Yeah.
Because they still credited us. They like put our Twitter up there. They were super nice about it. I was like, cool. Like, as long as you like, if this is easier for people to get to, then keep doing it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So I have a movie that is from 2014.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Which one? These are all going to just give it away pretty quick, I think, if you've seen the movie.
Okay.
So let's start with this one. During and in the lead up to the First and Second World Wars, the British intelligence services often used tailor shops as a front for their activities.
Go on.
All right, I don't think you've seen it. In the film, Professor James Arnold is played by Mark Hamill. In the comic series, Hamill is the first celebrity kidnapped by Dr. Arnold.
I see. I was going to say The Imitation Game.
Nope.
At first, but then you said Mark Hamill, and now I'm thrown for a loop, and I feel super bad.
No, don't feel bad.
Because I love Mark Hamill to tears.
You can feel bad for Mark Hamill, I guess. You don't feel bad to me.
Yeah. No. Only to Mr. Hamill.
Yeah. The church fight action sequence took 7 days to shoot, while the underwater dormitory sequence was complex and complicated to film and took around a week and a half to complete.
Nope.
Yeah. So this is the Kingsmen.
Like the Kings, like the one that they have a new movie coming out for?
Yes, the part 2. This is the Kingsmen Secret Service. This is...
I have never seen it.
Okay, so this is actually... I was shocked at how good I found this movie. I thought it was just going to be a big joke and kind of a waste of time. But it's one of those that's like parody-ish type movies. Like it's definitely like a parody of James Bond, but it's not a parody like Scary Movie. You know what I mean? Like it's an actual story. Yeah. It's got a beginning, a middle, and end. They do it well. They take it serious, but it's making fun of the James Bond tropes and stuff like that.
Kind of like that one movie. What was her name? Spy.
With Melissa McCarthy?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. How that kind of made fun of the James Bond trope, but...
Yes, but this is more earnest than that, I think.
Good.
Yeah, this is like... Even though it's kind of a parody of James Bond, it's like... Kind of like, you know how Bourne Identity is a... similar to James Bond, but it's its own thing?
Yeah. This
is somewhere in between Spy and Bourne Identity, I think. I think that might be a fair comparison.
No, that's cool. You see, people have recommended it to me with the new one coming out. I was talking to a friend of mine about watching it, and he was like, you need to see the first one. It's super good.
Yeah.
I've heard only good things about it. I super want to see it.
Yeah. No, it's really good. The Samuel L. Jackson has this accent in the movie, or a lisp, I think, and it's really, really obnoxious. Like it's super grating to listen to. Like I'm still confused why he would choose to do that and why the director would allow him to do that. But
Can you give a little like example of like what that kind of give a
I
rendition
feel like
of what
it
that sounds like?
just be offensive. It was so bad. Yeah, I can't even remember. I would do it if I had a clear sound in my head of it, but I feel like I would just fail. But it's awful. But the rest of the movie is great.
I was gonna say, yeah, Samuel L. Jackson makes some really weird character choices sometimes.
Yeah. He also
A lot of actors do.
He wears this baseball hat like the whole time. Like it's strange. His character is like the weirdest part of the whole movie, I think. But it still works. Like, how do you feel about hyper violent movies?
It depends on like what kind of what you mean by hyper violent. Are we talking like Shaun of the Dead style hyper violent, or are we talking like Saw levels of hyper violent?
Like Kill Bill, probably more.
Oh, Kill Bill's fine.
Yeah.
There's this.
Go ahead.
There's this fan film. I don't know if you're a Christian or not.
I am.
Are you like super Christian, or are you like? Because
you
there's
won't
this fan
offend
film
me. I'm a missionary,
cool.
so I
cool.
guess I'd probably qualify as super Christian.
Yeah. Well, I'm Catholic, so
okay.
There's this fan film that these guys from Spain did. It's all in Spanish, but it has subtitles for English on YouTube, and it's called Fist of Jesus.
Nice.
And yeah, it's super violent, super corny. But the idea is that Jesus messed up raising Lazarus from the dead and instead made him a zombie.
Okay.
And there's like Roman zombies, cowboy zombies. He's like using fish as throwing knives. It's wild.
Is it?
But it's also hyper violent.
Yeah. It sounds awful, not because of the religious elements. It just the premise. Is it? Do they do a good job, or is it pretty bad?
Like it's really good considering like it was a 20 minute long film that was meant to get up hype for a real film they wanted to make, which was called like Once Upon a Time in Babylon, which I haven't seen.
Okay.
Which was like the time, like biblical times and post-apocalyptic times combined.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was good in the sense that it wasn't serious at all, and it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But it was bad in the sense of that it was genuinely like not a good movie.
Yeah. How do you feel about movies like that are meant to be bad, that are made poorly, and are just they don't care because that was their intention?
I love them.
Do you? I think of the Machete movies.
Yes.
Like
yes.
There's like they just don't care. They're like, oh, this will be awesome. Let's just do that.
Right. Or like how the Fast and Furious movies have gotten.
See, I really like the Fast and Furious movies. Machete, I'm like the opposite end of.
Yeah. Well, Fast and Furious, you see, I like them, but at the same time, like at first they started off like really like grounded.
Yeah.
And then they've just gone off the deep end.
Well, they've become superheroes.
Yes. My friend likens them to anime.
Yeah.
Or like, I love movies that are bad purposefully, like Kung Fury. I enjoyed because it was a parody of all like 80s action movie tropes.
Yeah.
But I also just like bad movies in general. Like, I like bad movies because I enjoy like that's a thing that me and some of my friends here do. Is we'll get a bunch of we'll go to the movie theater and buy like 4 gallons of popcorn, and everyone will come over to the house and we'll turn on a super bad movie like Barbarella, or it was like the Wizards of the Lost City, something like that, and we'll sit there and we'll just rip it to pieces for the night. Yeah,
that's fun. I think that when you do it, but I think there's some people who just genuinely like watching bad movies like alone. Like they'd be willing to just watch it in the dark by themselves with no one else around.
I mean, I prefer to. It's at that point that I would turn off the TV and go outside.
Yeah.
Because like I'll watch bad movies with friends, but I won't watch bad movies by myself.
Yeah, that's how my wife and we watched Sharknado, but we watched it with the purpose of like torturing each other almost.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, we didn't enjoy watching it, but it was like, oh, you're going to watch this and you're going to suffer the whole time.
Yeah. There's a movie that a friend of mine showed me with that idea that he had already seen it and he wanted to make me suffer. And it's a sort, I say misogynistic because it is, but at the same time, it is self-aware that it's misogynistic. If that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And it's called Doghouse.
I haven't heard of it.
It's a British movie. If you ever like watched Doctor Who, Mickey, who is in an early reboot season of Doctor Who, is in the movie.
Gotcha.
And it's these 6 idiots who go to this town because the like female to male population is like 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to this town like looking for a good time, but all the women are like cannibalistic, like mutant zombie things. And that's the movie. That's the movie.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
It's very bad.
Do you watch Doctor Who then?
I watched a lot of it. I got into it back in like 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And I went back and
Community?
spent the whole year.
Was it because of Community?
No, actually, I was trying to impress this girl, and she loved Doctor Who.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I got to find an in here because she didn't talk about a whole lot else. And so I watched the first reboot season of Doctor Who, and I liked it. And I went back and watched as many episodes as I could from like 1960, 1950 onward. And I haven't been able to like catch anything new with it for the last like 2 years, but it's fun. It's a good show.
You like it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Was going back to the 50s worth going back to watch all that? Because that's what keeps me from even like looking into it. I know a lot of people like it and they enjoy it and stuff, but I'm like, man, there's just too much to like try to get caught up on.
You totally don't have to go back. Like they have a lot of referential stuff for way back when for people who have watched it, but you don't have to do any of that because the stories are still very new. And like for instance, one of his biggest villains is the Master. And so in like the 4th reboot series or 3rd reboot series, the Master shows up again and everyone's like, his new companions are like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he was this villain who I've been fighting for years and blah, 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 blah. Like he explains who they are, even if they're from the past, which is really, really good for new viewers. Like they're very aware of people who haven't seen the show before.
Gotcha. What do you think about Doctor Who becoming a woman?
I'm cool. I'm super excited. I love Jodie Whittaker. She was fantastic in Broadchurch. She was fantastic in Black Mirror, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend.
Yeah, I love Black Mirror. The new season's coming out soon.
I'm excited. She's a phenomenal actress. And I was reading a thing with David Tennant where because they worked on Broadchurch together, she called him asking him like, oh my God, how do I do this? Like, how do I play this character? And David Tennant's like, just, pick a trope and stick with it and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm super excited for it. I think that, cause it's been I say running joke, but it's like a running character trait of the Doctor's character is that he's always wanted to be a woman.
Okay.
Like every regeneration, he's like, am I a woman? Am I a woman? Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. Like ever since the like 70s, he's been like that. And that's been a lot of actors' choices. Like that's not scripted. When they regenerate, all the actors like choose kind of like, am I like this? Who am I like? Am I like this? And they get to in character, react to their own appearance as they think the character would.
Yeah.
And almost all of them choose displeasure with their appearance.
So there was even precedent before, because like I said, I haven't watched any of it, but I knew a lot of people were upset about that, which I always kind of found goofy.
Yeah, I found it super goofy. There has been precedent, like when Matt Smith took the role, when his character first regenerated, he felt his hair. He's like, "Oh, I'm a woman!" Like super excited. And then he looked in the mirror and he's like, "Oh, I'm not a woman." Darn. But like the two things that the Doctor in precedent has always wanted to be is a woman and ginger. As a character, the Doctor's always wanted to have red hair.
Yeah.
So now that one of those things is happening, hopefully the other one will happen at some point soon.
Yeah. See, because I understood the Ghostbusters issue when people were really upset about Ghostbusters being switched because it seemed so unnecessary. Like,
yeah,
to redo Ghostbusters, I think everyone would have been annoyed if it would have been an all male cast. But then to be like, hey,
oh, totally,
we're going to do all females. It's like they're making a point, like a political statement, instead of making the best movie. And so it's like, oh, this is not going to be good. And
did you end up watching it?
I did not. I don't really like the original Ghostbusters. So I was like,
that's understandable.
I wasn't really like, I don't have an issue with them being women, but it doesn't look good. Like the trailers, the comedy doesn't look very funny. It looks kind of slapped together and kind of cheap.
Yeah, the trailers made it look really bad. I liked the first Ghostbusters movie. I liked parts of it. I didn't like all of it. Because I felt like it was one of those movies that was only an hour and a half, but it went on too long. But the new one, I went to go see it in theater, and I genuinely had a lot of fun with it. Like,
did you?
I didn't go in there expecting like a great reboot. I didn't go in expecting it to be like the best movie of the year, but some of the jokes were really funny. All the actresses and Chris Hemsworth was in it too.
Yeah.
They did a great job with it. The story was different. It wasn't like a full reboot of the original story. Some of the action was cool. Parts of it were bad, but
yeah.
Overall, I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, because this came up on our podcast a little while ago because it Ocean's 8, I think is what it is going to be all female cast.
Didn't John Mulaney make a joke about that?
Maybe,
like
I
a while
don't know.
back. I remember him making a joke about imagining like if like Ocean's 11 was all women, and like he's like how they would do she's like they would be in and out of there super quick, don't get me wrong, but they would be super passive aggressive toward each other. Like one of them would be cracking the safe, and I think he's like, "Oh, I love how you just look good, you just wear anything," and like would go back to the safe. I don't know. It could be good. I love heist movies.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of them.
It could be. I have very little hope or faith that it's going to be any good. It's another one that doesn't. One, I don't need another Ocean's 11 movie in my life. I'm good. They've remade the original, and the first one was good. The second remake, the Ocean's 12, wasn't good at all, and the third one was almost as bad as the second one, in my opinion. So it's like, okay, it's good. We're done. Like, we don't need to go back to this. If they wanted to make a heist movie with the same actresses and Matt Damon, that's fine. Don't make it an Ocean's movie. Like, you'd have a much better chance, I think, at making a good movie if you weren't stuck to these rules.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big problem with like movies in general right now. Is I remember I was watching Hulu and a commercial came on for Flatliners, and how they're remaking Flatliners with Ellen Page. And don't get me wrong, like I love Ellen Page as an actress.
Yeah.
Super great person, but they're remaking the movie, like a movie that had a great point when it came out before.
Yeah.
And now it's just like there's so many other things you could be doing. Or like with the new It remake, how that came out. And granted, I have a lot of problems with that book anyway, but while it did super well, they're remaking a whole lot of those old horror movies. They're remaking It. They're remaking Friday the 13th. Like it's this one studio that's going through and remaking these horror movies as some part of quote unquote like connected dark universe. Because that's what's popular now. And I think that people like there's so many like better stories that could be made into movies, or even original thoughts that could be like there's so much better heist movies that could be made that aren't oceans. There's so much better horror movies that aren't some extra dimensional demon clown or some dream walker. Like there's so much more stuff, and with the way and that's one reason why I think I like Black Mirror so much, going back to that, is it takes like horror and it takes suspense, and it's it's very original with the way it does it, while playing off of some tropes or even using tropes to confuse the viewer and throw them off trail.
Yeah. I think originality is so, like, it's just so refreshing. Like, I think of
it is
John Wick, the first one, and how, like, it was just so nice to see something that was a new property, a new idea, something that was different. But
yeah.
if it would have been Taken number 4, you know what I mean? Like, if it was the exact same movie but Taken number 4, it would have been so much worse.
Exactly. Or there was one movie came out, Keanu, with with
Keegan-Michael
Key and Jordan Peele, which was super refreshing. It was super new, and it played off of stuff that they did in their show.
Oh, hello. I lost you for a second.
That was
played it.
Sorry,
it was off of their show. That's the last I got.
Yeah, it played off of their show, but kept like an action movie. It was very original, and I loved it a lot.
Yeah, can you think of any remakes or reboots that made sense, that were worth, like, it's like, oh no, that was a good idea. That was good that they did it. Because the only ones I can think of are ones that are turned into TV shows, like Westworld.
Yes, I can agree. Oh, Westworld, I think I keep bringing up Black Mirror so much, but that I feel like is a remake, sort of, or a reboot of Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like, and that makes so much sense, because the Twilight Zone wasn't just technology; it was all about like magic and mysticism, and it's still with that political overtones from like the 60s and 70s and 50s. But now with all this technology we have, that's kind of magical. We have magic now in the form of like our new technology and the stuff that's coming out every year. And it made sense to bring back a show that had political undertones, like who did social commentary and was satirical with that same kind of spookiness.
Yeah. What's your favorite Black Mirror episode?
I think it's a tie for me. For 3, there's the one where they're all on treadmills and working.
Yeah.
With that game show, that's one of them. Another one is the one with the game tester.
Oh, I didn't like that one. The horror one. Yeah.
I liked it because it hit home for me for a lot of stuff, because I've lived with my mom right now because I help her out and do stuff, and I'm in school. And so my sister, who goes out, she like kind of leaves situations, like if something's going on at home or mom needs help, she leaves the situation because she doesn't know how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things that hit home for me, as someone who like will call and sometimes not get an answer.
Yeah.
And then the third one was White Bear, I think, is my absolute favorite. And that's the one where the lady had kidnapped the child and murder, and so she was put through that day every day, where she was pretty much living out that punishment, where she could scream and nobody would listen to her, and people were just recording her, and people were trying to kill her, and every day that's how it was.
That one was the most messed up to me. Like messed me up in the head. Like I was like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this, because it feels like, okay, what she did was awful and terrible, but is that a just punishment? Like the commentary, I feel like, is on both sides of things. Do you know what I mean? The enjoyment of torturing someone, but also, is it okay to torture someone who is a torturer? You know what I mean? Like, where's the line?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. It's one of those things. Whoops, just dropped my phone.
Oh,
that it makes a whole lot of sense the way they do it. The episode that messed me up the most, and I'm going to school for like cybercrime and digital forensics.
Okay.
So the episode that messed me up and actually made me really angry after watching it was Shut Up and Dance. because
Which one was that again?
because that's stuff that was the one where people had hacked into this like 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid's computer and took video of him masturbating.
Yeah.
And threatened to use that against him unless he did all this like really bad stuff. And we're doing it to other people as well.
Yeah.
And it messed me up a lot because this kid genuinely didn't do anything wrong.
Well, he did.
But
he was looking at child porn.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that part.
Yeah. That's what comes out at the end. Is he's looking at like a 13-year-old or something like that.
Oh, that's not good then. That's super bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super bad.
Because that's why
it messed me up.
That's why he's willing to murder to keep that secret. Because I think if it was just the video, he would have given up about halfway through. But the whole point, when his mom calls, she's like, "What did you do? Do you like?" Yeah. She's the one who points it out.
Right. The only reason why I didn't like connect that being him and thought it was something that the other people did was because the guy who he was sent to kill that's why he was there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which I guess is a little more poignant that they're both committing the same crime.
Yeah.
And I mean, it made me angry as like someone who's going to this field because there are some people who just like will, watch porn or who will maybe pirate a movie, something that's not like, that's questionable, but not necessarily like super bad, but they can be taken advantage, or people can like record other people through their webcams and use that to blackmail. And it's something that happens today that a lot of people
it happened that to my
a lot
wife.
of people are scared for.
Not blackmail, but she went and got her computer replaced, and they installed some virus on the battery, which I don't quite get, but it hacked into her webcam. Thankfully, Mac has that light that pops up.
Yeah.
And so she realized pretty quickly, but it was pretty upsetting.
It is. It's super terrible that people can do this, and I think that's why it hit home. I think because like they say, a good satire that you go along with it, and you're like, okay, like you sympathize with people, but if it doesn't hit home for you, then it misses its mark.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit home for me for somebody who's so close to this field, like because in classes I'm learning how to like with laptops that have been hacked and stuff, how to backtrack that and find the person who committed the crime and stuff like that. And reading like examples in books about people who've been taken advantage of. It sucks.
Yeah. It's the digital crime, or whatever you want to call it, is so scary because there's no face for the victim. You know what I mean? For the criminal, it's just, this person doesn't exist in my world. I'm going to take whatever I want from them. Like there's no issue.
Right.
Like if I go up and I try to mug someone, I take a gun or I take a knife and I try to steal $20 from someone, there's a lot more impact on my psyche than if I were to hack into someone's bank account and then take $20 off of that.
Right. It's a lot of people, like with people who do schemes like that, they're like, it's a victimless crime because we can't see the person. We only took like $5 out of these 80 people's accounts.
Yeah. Like the Office space.
Right. But on the flip side, and I know this is totally veering off from what the whole show's about, but on the flip side, it's the most like if someone came up and mugged you, like, like physically that happened and it's scary and it's terrible, but that threat's gone.
Yeah, it's over.
But if someone hacks into your stuff, that's always there. It's like, even if you clean out your stuff, it's like, can they do it again?
Yeah.
What's going to happen next? And it's super scary.
Well, especially right now with the whole, did you hear about the Equifax thing? Something like 150 million people's information got hacked.
Yeah. We actually were talking about that the other day. Me and a classmate of mine. We were also talking about how in Windows, if you use Windows, had this big hack, like this big security loss thing that happened in the system, and a lot of people's information got taken because everyone gets those security updates like, hey, don't forget to like update your software like every time they log on.
Yeah.
And most people ignore it. And it's like, and Windows said like, yeah, this is our fault. Like there's a flaw in our system, but this update helped, like these updates would have covered the flaw.
Yeah.
So while they're trying to help people recover, it's also like, hey, can you guys like, if you're getting like, hey, you should update, hey, you should scan for viruses, do it, please.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a point to all of that.
Right. And it's the biggest advice like I would give to anybody genuinely is to just like keep your stuff, like keep your antivirus stuff updated. Like it's super hard for people to get around a constantly changing system. And if you're constantly being able to update or you're constantly scanning, you'll catch anything.
Yeah. Well, most of the times too, like it's going to sound like I'm arguing against your point, but I'm trying to agree with you, is the hackers are ahead of the antivirus stuff. So a lot of the things is in the antivirus is in response to what the hackers are doing. So if you are 2 steps behind the antivirus stuff, you are that much further behind the people who are, you know, at the point of the spear of hacking.
Oh yeah. It's it's a big issue with that. And I agree. There are a lot of people who do this stuff are aware of how like a lot of operating. That's why Norton antivirus, and there's another one. It starts with an A, and I can't remember. It's I think one of Adobe's things are super bad because those are like 8 steps behind the curve.
Yeah,
and their system is changing, but it's changing in the same format, so they're super unsafe. As opposed to like Malwarebytes, which is really good, or even just the Windows Defender, because one thing that a lot of companies have started doing is taking people who have been convicted of hacking and convicted of intruding, and as a way to serve sentence, even the government's done this too, has had them put in place to build software to protect and to counteract stuff. So that way they're no longer so far behind. And now these people are getting like making real money and making legitimate pay for preventing crime that they used to do. And it's really interesting from a psychological point, but at the same time, it's really smart on any company's point.
Yeah. Yeah, in like 50 years, they'll make a movie like Catch Me If You Can, but it'll be about viruses.
Yeah, which would be super great. I would love to watch that movie. I would love to see more movies and shows like it's a running joke for me and some friends of mine about like CSI Cyber when that was out, and like hacking movies about how just ridiculous they are.
Did you watch Mr. Robot?
Yes.
So I watched the first season. I'm not caught up, but did you like it?
Mr. Robot is very good. There's obviously going to be some inaccuracies, but in general, it's probably one of the most accurate shows. Which is kind of scary, but also kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know why I never watched the second season. Having kids makes watching TV extra difficult.
Oh, I'm super sure.
Yeah, they take up a lot of time. Well, so if the Kingsmen comes on TV, what are you gonna do?
I would watch it. I'd get some popcorn.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I would probably watch it until commercial right now because I've seen it. I always have a hard time rating these because I'm too honest or accurate about what I would actually do right now, which isn't really the point of the rating system.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say I would recommend someone else to watch it. But if it were me right now, I would probably watch it just until commercial and probably get bored by the commercials and change the channel.
Yeah, that's understandable. I think commercials take a whole lot out of movies because it's stopping the motion. That's why I can't watch like anything on like any movies on TV. I have to either find the DVD or put it on Netflix.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I actually watched anything with a commercial other than off the internet.
Well, I mean, I can. I was gonna say I can, and that's Hulu, but otherwise, I don't really watch like cable anymore.
Yeah, we don't have the TV here, like the cable here is 95% Thai channels, so we're like, not really worth it. So we watch everything off of like Netflix and Apple TV and stuff like that. So
hey, whatever works.
Yeah, but do you want to tell me about your podcast again?
Yeah, doing advice. We're actually recording tonight, so I'm super excited. We get people send us in questions, we answer them, go off on tangents. We use them as a jumping off point. Sometimes we give actual advice, but for the most part, it's just all goofs and giggles.
Yeah. And what's it called?
That One Friend. And if you want to find us on Twitter, it's That One Friendcast, but the one on our Twitter is a number 1, not spelled out.
And then if you want to get a hold of us, we're at I Seen That Pod, and then me directly at Alan RJR. And Taylor, do you remember how to spell his last name?
I'm gonna try again.
Yeah.
Like EUOH. No.
ENOKSON, Enixon.
Got it.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna print that into my brain.
No, don't do it. Trust me. You don't. It's not worth it.